We've received a lot of questions about the National Association of Realtor settlement announcement that came about last week. For those that may not know or haven't read the news about this particular lawsuit settlement, the plaintiff attorneys claim that the members and the association basically artificially inflated pricing because of the way we practice business and how agents were compensated. Uh, Even though that is certainly not the case, there's so many other factors that go into um, the pricing of homes, construction prices, interest rates, supply and demand, and so many other factors. The plaintiff attorneys made an argument and they won their original case. The National Association was appealing that decision, and prior to being heard on appeal, they have reached a settlement. Both parties have agreed to the terms. It is now up for court approval. But contrary to popular belief, the realtor industry is not busted. It is not flipped upside down. There are some changes that are coming, but I personally feel like these changes are actually very healthy. They're healthy for the consumers. They're healthy for the agents and the companies that work in this profession. They're healthy for the associations and the MLSs. And I'm really kind of looking forward to seeing these changes come into play and continuing forward. But I kind of wanted to put to rest some rumors that I had heard that y'all are doomed and everything else, because not a whole lot has really changed other than some formalities that are coming about for our industry. So let's talk first. Prior to this settlement being reached, what were some practices that were being accused of not being fair or whatever the case may be? And one of those practices was that the seller was billed a commission, and from that commission, the buyer's agent was likewise compensated. Additionally, another practice that was in question was that the MLS, or the member association, the local board of realtors, advertised per listing on the private side of things what that co-op fee was. So the fee portion of the fee that was being offered to the buyer's broker, or the co-op fee for cooperating, it was privately advertised in MLSs for other agents to see. And then another practice was that an agent could do kind of like a pop-up showing. The phone would ring, you'd go unlock the door and show a property to an unrepresented party, and if they bought it, you got paid, and they didn't really. So that kind of practice, those highlights, I guess, or the major changes that came about from the terms of this settlement agreement. So let's look at those individually. Sellers still have the option to include buyer representation compensation in their commission that they agreed to with their listing brokerage. That'll probably still be what a majority of people do as an enticement and encouragement to bring someone to your property and still show it and sell it. So I don't feel like that's going to be a major change, other than it will be more clearly spelled out from the beginning what they're willing to offer. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only payment that the buyer compensation will be, or the buyer broker's compensation will be. Additionally, the MLS can no longer advertise if a agreed upon buyer compensation is reached. The MLS can no longer advertise that. It has to be privately discussed between the two companies prior to showing the property or prior to making an offer on the property. Um, Lastly, the buyer agency agreement is now required prior to showing a property to someone. And I personally am a big proponent of this change. I think it's very healthy for the agents to have that protection, for the clients to have that protection. I always felt it extremely dangerous for the phone to ring and an agent run out to meet a stranger that they've never met before and unlock a door and be in an environment where it's just you and them, and you may be in a secluded area, or uh, 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 and putting yourself in danger. So I'm very much a proponent of that change and very excited for that. And really, that's kind of business as usual for us. That was kind of our office policy, regardless, was that when we represent a buyer, we have it in writing and have that filed so that all parties were on the up and up. So, how can a buyer's agent be compensated now? Well, as we mentioned, they can still be compensated in the traditional manner. There could be a co op offered on that particular listing that they have shown, and the buyer's agent would know that prior to showing the property. The consumer has the option to pay the buyer's broker directly. That's always been an option. And then lastly, it can be the buyer's broker can be compensated from a concession from the seller. So, in other words, very similar to how um, perhaps closing costs are worked into an offer. Much the same can be done for buyer broker compensation. So, you know, again, I'm happy that some of these changes came about. I do not think that our industry is turned over upside down on our heads and headed for doom. I think these changes are extremely healthy. I think these changes are for the betterment of the clients, for the betterment of the agents, and truly for the betterment of the industry. So it's kind of a silver lining, if you will. You absolutely hate that your member association had to pay a per se penalty to reach this settlement. But these are some changes that will increase the professionalism in our industry and truly hold some buyer agents to provide good service to the clients. And I think everybody wins. So looking forward to seeing it come into play. Supposedly the changes are have to be in effect by mid-July of this year of 2024. But again, a lot of these things are kind of business as usual for realtors and nothing they're not used to. So thanks for listening. And if we can answer any questions, give us a call, stop by, have a cup of coffee, or let's just talk shop. Better agents, best results.